It is 10 o'clock on a Friday. Welcome in. This is Three Man Front on Jocks. Pat, Molly, Landrum, Conrad. Oh, what would a morning be without some type of technical difficulties? Many of you are experiencing some social media issues. This week, we've been ravaged by cell phone problems, phone issues, and now Twitter's down. So I have no idea how we're going to keep up with all the great players that Alabama's going to sign over the next 5 minutes.
There's other ways. There's other outlets.
Yeah. How?
It's not all up on X and Twitter. We have other outlets that report these things.
My spidey senses are tingling right now.
Are they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he thinks that he's going to get a bunch of players from Ole Miss that have decided to leave because they're ticked off because Lane Kiffin leaked how much money all the defensive players were getting at Ole Miss.
They could have signed with Alabama right now, and we wouldn't know.
Yeah, you got some big-time prospects that are coming out in portal late.
Yep.
Looks like Landrum may have been a little bit of a prophet this week.
It really wasn't that hard to figure out, though. You've got a one-day window. Everybody else does their buying. There's still needs, and then you've got ultimate leverage at the end.
Transfer portal will close tonight at 11:59:59, which means you have to have your paperwork submitted into the university for you to be in the transfer portal. You do not have to sign somewhere at 11:59:59 tonight, but you do have to technically be in the transfer portal. So we'll see if Tennessee or Miami can try to coax some quarterbacks into the portal before midnight.
Serious question. I don't know the answer to this, but with some of these departments and getting your paperwork and your data into the portal, what if your people in that office are sick that day? What kind of recourse do you have if you're a guy that has let it be known that your intentions are there, nobody's there to enter your data?
Well, just to be safe, I would submit it before 5 p.m. today. And
we've had that before where somebody files to be in the portal and maybe it takes them a little longer to get that process than it would another player. And
you just call up Tom Mars. Say, Tom, this is what happened.
I would definitely get something certified and say, look, this is what I did. And I did it before this time, and it didn't work out. So we'll see what happens. In regards to the transfer portal, Auburn picked up a few more players yesterday, so it was a very interesting day for Auburn. They now have 27 additions. They're currently ranked 14th in the transfer portal rankings by 247. They land LSU defensive line transfer Walter Mathis Jr., originally from Savannah, Georgia. Mathis appeared in 12 games, totaled 9 tackles as a true freshman for LSU back in 2025. He arrives at Auburn with 3 years of eligibility remaining. He's 6'2", 285. Last time Auburn grabbed someone out of the portal from LSU, turned out really good.
Yeah, he's a pretty good linebacker, it turns out. They needed help on the interior defensive line, if anything, than depth, and maybe they see something in Mathis that they really like how he projects down the road. But you add Jordan Crawford and some of those other guys coming back in the mix, you can never have enough of those guys, especially with SEC experience.
Yeah, they've got now 3 defensive linemen out of the transfer portal in this class. Meanwhile, Ole Miss transfer offensive lineman T.J. Hedrick, he's signed with Auburn. He has 4 years of eligibility remaining. He's transferring from Ole Miss after redshirting this previous season. He signed with the Rebels after considering Missouri, Florida, and Kentucky, among other schools. He's rated as a 3-star prospect from most major recruiting services. He was ranked as the 45th offensive tackle prospect, according to On3, chose Ole Miss originally over Kentucky, Florida, and Mississippi State. So 27 players now out of the transfer portal for Auburn.
Yeah, it's not bad. You mentioned those guys. They pick up another offensive tackle from Oregon State who's 305. They're getting guys that got experience, and maybe they only have 1 year left. But I think the most important thing for Alex Golesh, it is the highest, utmost importance has been, you got to come in, we got to win football games now. What is the easiest way to do that? And I think you bring in these guys with experience, even if it's 1 year and you're reloading again at the end of the next season, you got to get off to a good start. And it looks like so far they're doing that.
Well, and I feel like you're seeing a little bit of that, right? You brought up the Oregon State guy, started 6 games last year at left tackle, probably a guy you expect maybe to make an impact this year, whereas the Ole Miss kid that redshirted, maybe he does become a role player this year, but maybe that's more of he's got 4 years of eligibility left, let's develop him, and then hopefully maybe in 2027 and beyond, that guy's kind of a key fixture on your offensive line. So I think a good mixture of guys you want to commit and be a big part of what you're doing in 2026, but also some guys that you see long-term maybe have some big potential.
And the reality is, just with the roster numbers and how many guys exited, you got to have numbers
Yeah, you got bodies. You need bodies.
So to have guys with an SEC emblem next to their name and having that experience, that helps. But the guy from Oregon State looks like he's a solid player, team guy.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, Alabama, they have 12 guys. I know if you look at On 3 and you look at 247, they're going to say you got 10. But there's 2 guys that are technically like preferred walk-ons, so to speak.
Yeah.
And those are special teams guys. The punter from North Alabama, the long snapper from Syracuse are not counting in the 247 rankings.
Because they're 5-star pluses, and they don't have
is that what they are?
They don't have that metric in there yet.
Oh.
You can't put a star rating on the importance of specialist.
Thank you, Andrew.
As a former specialist, I'll tell you that.
You get it.
Pat will tell you that. He called a game this year. Special teams. Molly, I think Molly was there too.
Molly was a lot closer to it than I was.
Oh, yes, I was.
Yeah,
a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't have just been one.
Yeah, nobody notices special teams when it's joyless murder ball, but when it gets you beat,
Yeah, that was an unfortunate night in Prattville. Anywho,
just goes game and sight of game. I love it.
So Alabama's got a lot of folks. We're going to talk to Mike Rodak coming up at 11 o'clock, and he's going to kind of give us the Mike Rodak Excel spreadsheet with the roster, what it looks like, how many guys are leaving, how many's coming in, what's the roster look like currently. But you want to quickly go over the names, Conrad, who is in Tuscaloosa, because it's a plethora of guys over the last 24 hours that we have heard that will either have already visited yesterday or is en route today.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be a pretty big weekend for Alabama. Also, before we get to that, the news was A.K. Deere announced his returning yesterday,
Right.
so that was kind of your roster move, so to speak. But in terms of visits today, you're expecting 2 Oregon defenders. You've got a linebacker, Blake Purchase, had 32 tackles, 2 sacks, and a pick this year for the Ducks. And then you also have defensive lineman Terrence Green. He had 15 tackles for Oregon this year. So they're both expected to be visiting today down there in Tuscaloosa. Yesterday, you had offensive lineman Nick Brooks from Texas. He was on campus for a visit. Today, you're going to be hosting offensive lineman Ethan Fields. He comes from Ole Miss. It's also expected over the weekend that Yale wide receiver Nico Brown will be in town for a visit. We talked a little bit about him yesterday, and I'm sure there's probably another player or two that's been added to that since this morning, Pat. But those are kind of the 4 main guys that I've seen a lot of talk about, and a lot of people very excited, particularly about the Oregon defenders. A lot of hype there.
Yeah, and we mentioned yesterday the Cal Poly Center. We were saying Racing, right?
Yes.
Racing Delgatti. He visited Alabama yesterday. He received an offer from the Crimson Tide last week. He's 6'4", 305. He's had recent offers from Kentucky, Michigan, Northwestern, UCLA, Baylor, and others. So I was told early this morning that need to keep your eye on him. The Terrence Green, as Conrad just mentioned, the defensive lineman from Oregon. Blake Purchase, also from Oregon, a linebacker. And Nick Brooks from Texas. Those are the guys that they said, hey, just kind of watch their names today, see if something moves on those fellas. Bama currently 34th, according to the 247 composite, which would put them really, 13, 14 in the SEC, depending on which one you're looking at?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So there's still work. In my rough math before the show, and it's rough because I was not a math major, it looks like if Alabama adds 5 more players out of the portal, your roster is exactly where it was before the final game against Indiana.
In terms of, you'd be at 85.
Correct.
Would that give them, what was that, 17 out of the portal?
Yeah.
Yeah, they brought 5 more out. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And you've lost 21
Yeah.
to the portal.
Yeah, the math breakdown is you've got 16 that they lost their eligibility. They can't play college football anymore. You had 3 underclassmen, technically, who still had eligibility. They declared for the NFL draft, so that's 19. You got 21 players that are transferring out, so 19 plus the 21 gives you 40 that are exiting your roster. You've got 12 that's transferring in, so that subtracts it back to 28, and you signed 23 from the JUCO and the high school recruiting ranks. So if that math is correct, Conrad, that 5, right?
Yeah, that would put you at
Okay.
5. And as you can see, based on the people that are coming in to visit, you would expect probably a couple more offensive linemen, a couple more defensive linemen, maybe a linebacker, And then once you get past that, right, if, a wide receiver for depth that they like, maybe there's another running back out there for depth, something like that. But clearly them and Auburn going for the trenches, and I think that's, very beneficial in the SEC, obviously.
Is Hollywood Smothers, has he signed? I mean, with Texas.
You don't want to know what I think about that kid now.
You down on Hollywood?
I hope he has a great career at and I really I can't even blame him that much. It's just you go and look at his agent's Instagram for 5 minutes. It'll tell you everything you need to know about that situation.
Well, and going back, it was Rodney, right, yesterday and he didn't put it on the agent. He just said he had heard different variations of the story of how it all went down.
And to be fair, if you're an agent, what's your job is to get your client the best deal possible, right? So I'm not saying he wasn't doing his job. It's just you could see maybe what's most important at the end of the day for a lot of these guys. And that's okay. The almighty dollar.
Yeah,
hard to beat it.
Something does tell me the agent's commission was bigger in Austin than it was in Tuscaloosa.
It's almost like they're looking out for their own best interest. I hope he didn't get 30%, though. I hope they negotiated a more friendly deal for Hollywood.
While it's not, that should be criminal. Because a lot of these kids, they have no idea who they're dealing with, what they're dealing with, and they're trusting grown people who are representing themselves as people that they can trust.
With the intent of taking advantage of these kids.
Yeah, sorry, folks.
Coming up at the bottom of the hour, Wimp Sanderson will join the program in his customary spot, brought to you by Craneworks. Mike Rodak at 11 o'clock. We'll talk to Trey Wallace from Outkick at noon. John Talty from CBS Sports. He'll be along at 12:30 as we will get into the preview of the national championship game coming up on Monday night. It is a football Friday here on Jocks. Hope you'll join us for the next 3.5 hours. This is Three Man Front on Jocks. It is 10:16. Coach Wimp Sanderson will join us at the bottom of the hour. Must Hear Radio each and every week here on Jocks, brought to you by Craneworks.
Well, flu season is here, so make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. It's 100 times more effective than standard air filters and 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. So go and find a dealer near you at Trane.com.
Well, if you notice, Molly, a little bit excited today. No, it's not because Nebraska got a bunch of 5 stars out of the transfer portal. It's because she is heading down to the national championships of cheer and dance team.
No, not Indiana, Miami. Those 2 teams will be there.
I said
just not
cheerleading and dance.
No, I know,
team.
but yeah, want to clarify.
What's the cheerleading movie where they all get together and they have
Bring
to
It
borrow
On.
the guy?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it Bring It? It's Bring It On.
Okay.
Where they borrow the guy that used to be with the cheer team and then he was doing something else and they had to pull him out at the competition because somebody goes down. Is that Bring It On?
I don't think that's Bring It On.
Is that Fired Up?
Bring It On's the one with, I can't remember her name, but the other girl's Gabrielle Union. It's like the Clovers and the Toros, and they have to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the one that's got the guy that's been. It's a younger guy actor that's been in a lot of different stuff.
In the movie Dodgeball, the guy has to go be in the cheer competition.
It's actually that's who it was. That was
Dodgeball?
Dodgeball. That's who it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because what's his name? At
That
the
is
end, he has to
Dodgeball.
go substitute in for the
That's
cheer
right.
competition.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
I was like, that is not Bring It On.
Just married movies. Okay, well, I've never seen the cheerleading movie then.
Quite a bit of difference there.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
was.
very
I was
different
like,
movie.
I'm pretty sure that's Dodgeball.
It's like when I turned on the Winnie the Pooh movie and it was Blood and Honey.
Ooh,
little
the
bit
director's cut.
A little bit different.
All right. So last night I was having some fun on Twitter because I come across this ridiculous, and I mean ridiculous quote from the athletics director at the University of Tennessee. Just so stupid. So Mike White, who's the athletics director, he tells the Knoxville News Sentinel that he believes some schools are defying NIL rules by promising money to players they don't intend to pay and even offering NIL deals off the books. Direct quote from the athletics director at Tennessee. If we're going to have rules, then people need to follow them. And if they don't, there needs to be penalties, end of quote.
Mhm.
So I read that over and over again to make sure that my mind was working properly and I understood what he was saying. If you're going to have rules, then people need to follow them. And if they don't, there needs to be penalties. So it got me thinking. Rules. You're luring an SEC quarterback at a rival school with $4 million plus to come play for your university, and that's perfectly legal. The hypocrisy of these people knows no bounds. It's unbelievable. Where he is sitting there chastising everybody else in the college game. Meanwhile, his own school was offering between $4 and $6.5 million to Ty Simpson before Ty Simpson filled out one single official paperwork that he was going to the NFL.
Well, that's why every coach that comes out, whether it's Kirby Smart or whatever, saying, hey, we got to have regulations. This is out of control. But the reality is their staffs are still doing the same things that everybody else is doing.
Well, he also has a flawed perspective on this because there are no rules. So what he said is true. Yes, if there are rules, you have to follow them, but there aren't rules. So
there's no reason to follow
correct.
because there
And
are none.
We can agree that that's bad. I think
all
we
these
think it is
ADs
bad,
and
but-
these coaches should say, hey, this is a problem, but I'm admitting that I am a part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and let's be honest, if you're not doing that stuff,
You're not
failing.
keeping up.
Correct.
You're not keeping up.
It's just like back in the old days. If you weren't paying players, you were behind the 8 ball. Doesn't mean it was legal.
But how could you be a so-called, I mean, he gets paid a lot of money. He's one of the highest paid athletic directors in the country.
But this is a guy, Pat, that has no qualms about running his mouth.
No, he ran his mouth when Auburn got rid of Alan Green.
Yep.
Said that Auburn did a horrible disservice to the university by getting rid of one of the worst athletic directors in the history of Auburn.
Yep. We see how he landed.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact you got Ole Miss people griping and complaining
It's the same boat.
about what's going on with their players. They're accusing Lane Kiffin of leaking information about how much money the players were making in NIL. Matter of fact, I heard last night from some people that they were telling me that some folks have got Lane Kiffin on recorded FaceTime where he is trying to entice guys on Ole Miss's roster to go in the transfer portal.
It's so bad, but it's so good at the same time.
But then you have Ole Miss people.
What a tactic.
Ole Miss people are yelling about Lane Kiffin doing that.
But they're doing that with Ty Simpson.
Yeah, they offered Ty Simpson millions of dollars to be quarterback. It's hilarious.
No, it's hypocrisy everywhere.
Why can everyone just not put, yeah, we're doing it. You're doing it. We're doing it too. All right. You got more money than us, though, so you won that one. Yeah, I mean.
Well, and the
everyone's
pressure to
doing it.
win and the pressure to perform, it's all about the money. But until I still contend, until it comes down from a federal level, we're not going to get any kind of reform. No checks and balances. We're just going to keep doing this.
That from Danny White, I feel like just has to be a little bit almost of just damage control, right? You're trying to put something out there because you look around and you go, some people are probably going to look at us as maybe we're some of the losers of the portal in terms of we've got some holes that we weren't able to fill. And this is a way of putting it out there that, hey, it's not because we didn't try. It's because other people are tampering and doing things unethically. That's why we don't have a quarterback.
That tells me that Danny White has had a lot of conversations this week with his head coach and probably asking the question, hey, Josh, what are we going to do on quarterback?
Yeah.
All right, here's more of a quote from Danny White. I misspoke earlier. I said Mike White. Mike White was his brother, who was athletics director at Duke. I believe that's right.
Mike White is the coach at Georgia.
Georgia's basketball coach, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, okay.
Yep.
This is another quote. He says, we need enforcement and accountability if that cheating is happening, and I believe that it is, but there are two sides to it. Are you planning on just cheating and never submitting it to a clearinghouse? If so, there needs to be penalties for that. Otherwise, why do we even have rules? Because if we want to go that route, then my goal will be that we become the New York Yankees of college sports. We can do that at Tennessee.
You don't want to be you don't want to be the Yankees anymore. You want to be the Dodgers. You don't want to be the Yankees anymore. We don't pay for anything.
Okay, so that was the ultimate flex. We're gonna be Texas Tech, Texas A&M, University of Texas if we choose to be. If you guys force us down that road, we can do it.
Yeah, and it's also pointing out that once again he is throwing shade at Texas Tech and everybody else spending all that money because he was crowing yesterday about over $300 million that Tennessee has access to. Then he says if we're not going to have rules and we're just going to do whatever we want to do, then we can because we have the capability at the University of Tennessee to become the New York Yankees of college sports.
So it's a passive-aggressive way of taking shots at all of those schools and going, hey, you guys got the money and you're cheating and it's blatant. We're choosing not to, but just letting you know we have that money and we can play that game if we want to.
How's that going to look at the end of the year if you don't have a quarterback and you go 7-5? Probably going to go, man, we probably should have cheated. I understand the sentiment of it. It sounds nice, but it's like,
well, now
you have all this money, then why'd you get outbid for quarterbacks?
Here's the
Why don't you have
problem.
a
Here's the
quarterback?
problem now. Unless you have a high-profile quarterback that comes out, or if there's one of those guys that's already committed to a school that hasn't signed that deal, you're out of luck. I mean, short of going and pulling off taking Maduro and his wife out of their presidential palace in the middle of the night, going and kidnapping a quarterback, I don't know where you're going to find one. Sorry, that was the closest parallel I could find.
No, I'm just imagining the picture of him with a quarterback
dropping down a rope out of a Black Hawk.
I could see Lane doing that.
Who are you?
Well, good. I'm glad that Tennessee, if they wanted to be, could be the boogeyman of college athletics. But they're very kind and they're letting us not suffer that wrath.
When you wake up, you'll be in God's country.
So when was the Yankees' last World Championship?
17 years ago now. I was 13 years old, 2009.
So the Cardinals have one since you guys have one. Wow.
I guess the Braves got the most recent.
Yeah.
Well, when you're paying guys $60 million for a year for 4 years to be your number 4 hitter, I mean, God, it's ridiculous. People think I'll just say this: people think college football is bad. Baseball's not in a great spot right now.
No, it hasn't been for quite some time.
No, it has not.
And it's going to continue to be that way.
So who would be the Dodgers? Is it Texas Tech would be the Dodgers of college football?
Yeah, they got to win something, though.
Yeah.
Well, that was the case for the Dodgers, though. How many teams did they have that did not end in world championships?
Yeah, a lot.
prior to recently.
Gonna be another fun year, isn't it?
And to bring it up. You had to bring up baseball.
I've been mad about that since Pat sent me that last night. I've just been.
You see what it does to him. Look at him.
My team was supposed to be in the mix for him, but sorry, I can't do 60. He's making $20 million a year more than Aaron Judge is. Think about that. Think about that.
How about this? This is a little fun fact for you. And I can only speak for my Cardinals. I can't speak for her Tigers or your Braves or your Yankees. I can just speak of my Cardinals. So currently on the Los Angeles Dodgers roster, they have 8 players with over $100 million contract.
It's like
8.
a third of the roster.
8.
Disgusting.
In the history of the St. Louis Cardinal franchise, we have given 2 contracts over $100 million. 2 in the history of our franchise. And the Dodgers have 8 currently on their roster.
Who has more World Series titles all time, though?
That would be the Cardinals.
That's right.
Cardinals are only behind the Yankees.
That's right.
But the Dodgers are catching up really, really fast.
Yeah. 3 in the last 5 years is pretty good.
Yeah, catching up real quick. Coming up in just a matter of moments, brought to you by Craneworks. We'll catch up with Coach Wimp Sanderson, get his thoughts on the national championship game coming up on Monday. Also, some basketball talk with the coach. That's all straight ahead on this Friday edition of 3 Man Front. Spring would look a little good right now, wouldn't it? It's going to be cold this weekend.
Yeah. And we got about 17 degrees more. Maybe only about 10 degrees more. It'd feel like spring. Always a tricky time.
Very
you bundle
much
up
so.
in the mornings. And then in the afternoon, you got to shed clothes.
Yeah, I think this afternoon in central Alabama, it's going to be in the low 50s, but then another cold front's coming through this weekend. It's going to be bitterly cold, I think, on Sunday.
Have they mentioned the word that we don't mention on the show?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we're good there. Each and every week, brought to you by Craneworks, we get an opportunity to catch up with the coach, Coach Wimp Sanderson.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah, the big dog's got it.
Wimp Sanderson on Three-Man Front is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it. The big dog's got it. And now, Wimp Sanderson.
And Coach Wimp Sanderson joins us each and every week on the Higginbotham Hotline. Coach, I hope you've had a good week and you are excited for the weekend of college basketball and the national championship on Monday.
Well, I sure am. I think it's going to be very interesting. I think the answer to some of the questions that y'all get all the time and the answers and so forth, I think the answer to older players and so forth is that, you know, if you're signating them, you're trying to figure out a way for Indiana to turn around and get better. And they decided that they would go with older guys, and they could have been younger guys. But what they decided to do was get as many players as they could that they thought had ability from another program. And what you do is you get better players than your opponent if you can, and they don't have any head problems off the field, and you get those guys to play hard. If you get better players than your opponent or just as good, and you have a lucky – and now, you know, one game doesn't really mean everything. But when you talk about 15-0, it does mean that they did it the right way. Now, let me tell you something. Here's the problem with it. With your lower, if other coaches like that idea, and you are a lower division team, a Chattanooga or whatever you want, UAB or whatever, a smaller, not a smaller school, but a school below the power schools, you better watch out because they've got a little money. They're going to come in and get your guys if they like them. So those agents that are involved with the people at the smaller schools, that some of them got agents, some of them don't, or the agents that are involved with your school, go down there and say this guy can be gotten for a certain amount of money. I think that's a big factor, y'all. Maybe you not think so, but I think these lower schools better watch out because of the success that Indiana's had.
Yeah, and to take that example, Coach, if you move it to college basketball, how much impact has the transfer portal had on those mid-majors like the Butlers, like some of those schools that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it does. It's in both cases. So I mean, they've done a good job of, you know, a lot of Alabama people are mad because they won the game against Alabama, the way they beat them. But, you know, 15 times they've beaten everybody. So, you know, you can't, you know, last year you wanted to argue about Indiana's schedule and wasn't any good and so forth, or whatever in basketball, you want to argue about certain things. But I think they hit it for this year anyway, and it's darn good. But those lower division people had better be darn careful. So, and let me tell you one other thing before I go to basketball. The agents are killing things. The agents are trying to get money just to call your general manager and say, I can get Joe Blow to visit, but I'll need some money to get him to visit. Now, because if you're in a nice place like Alabama or Auburn, and you think you got a shot to get them to visit, then your general manager has to deal with that. He may not talk to the head coach about it all the time because the head coach ain't got time for this little crap. But the general manager has to decide if they want. We can bring in so and so. He's a good player. We're gonna have to pay for him, coach, even to visit, and then they decide from there. So, anything on that you want to talk about, I'll try to talk about it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the, as we all know, Coach, the tampering is going on wildly right now in the football transfer portal. But just your thoughts on Ty Simpson, you know, basically turning down multi-million-dollar offers to still stay in the NFL draft and not leave Alabama for another season in college football?
Well, I think first of all he's loyal. Now loyalty shouldn't overcome the $5 or $6 million. But I do think he feels like he can play, and I do feel like he thinks he can get a long-term contract. And I'm not sure that the contract going to another SEC team or another team was going to be the kind of contract. Maybe it's $5 million, but I think going the other way with the abilities that he has. I think he has more ability than our listeners think. The first thing everybody's going to say next year when the new football, when the new quarterback comes out there is, I thought this, I thought that. They'll compare him to Ty. That'll be all you hear, because all quarterbacks have problems if the offensive line doesn't block. So I think probably he feels like that. The loyalty factor is a little bit. It's not a whole, not humongous with it, but it is. I just think he feels like he can play. The quarterback situation, as far as transfer, as far as getting quarterbacks, it's going to be less this time. It's going to be next year. There's going to be a lot more quarterbacks come out and be available for the draft, I think. And I think he feels like that this year there won't be as many, and he'll get a pretty high draft. Now, hey, I could be dead wrong, but that's the way I feel.
Coach, with the SEC not having a national championship in the last 3 years in college football, do you think that that's probably more of the reality now with the transfer portal and NIL fully set in? Do you think that the SEC's dominance maybe to the level that we knew it's over?
No, I don't think it's over. I think the SEC is darn good, and everybody's pretty darn good. And so everybody being pretty good makes it more difficult to get where you need to get with injuries and so forth. So we're going to have 100 scholarships now, 100 something. Back when I was with Coach Bryant, that we had an unlimited number. So I don't think it's going down to the west side. I think you've got a great chance to still be. SEC is still got to be good, but I think they got better teams from top to bottom, 16 teams, than the Big Ten has. You talk about Ohio State and Michigan, people like that, but you don't talk a whole lot about those other groups. So I think to answer your question, I think the SEC is fine. On the basketball front, and I'll get to that because I know you guys are trying to finish up. On the basketball front, I think the league is balanced. It's more so balanced than I thought it was. I think your 5 teams are probably a little bit better than the other 11. I could be dead wrong, but I think Florida, I think Tennessee, I think Alabama, I think Vanderbilt, one other, Arkansas probably maybe, although they got beat by Auburn pretty bad. I think those 5 teams probably are a little bit or a notch ahead of the rest of them. Should be 10 teams in the NCAA tournament. Alabama plays at Oklahoma tomorrow. I just got through talking about that, and I think because you're in a football atmosphere, and I was in a real big-time football atmosphere when I had the job, and you get beat by Florida the way Oklahoma did, and Alabama's going there, that the football people, they don't like that, so they don't come out, and I don't know if they have the kind of home crowd to give them a really home court advantage. I could be dead wrong, but that's a little bit of what I'm thinking. So teams are up and down. Florida just killed Tennessee in one game they played, and for whatever reason, Auburn was able to go in there, be at home, and be a good Arkansas team. So it's kind of interesting to see the Arkansas. And you note that I did not mention Kentucky. They've had some injuries, and they still do, and they were very fortunate to win the game against LSU. They don't do anything to get the home crowd really fired up too much. I don't think when they're playing. They did not shoot the basketball well, and they're not great defensively. Outside of that, I guess they're okay, but they're really struggling, and I don't think they'll be in the top 5 when this thing is over with, because of course they'll also point guard. So Cal looks at that and he says, as Toby Keith used to sing, "How do you like me now?" Because that's what Toby said, and so he says to the Kentucky crowd, "How do you like me now?" So that was a pretty good line for Toby Keith, and a pretty good line I would say, for Cal, because they wanted him out of there. They want to get rid of him. Everybody wants to get rid of their coach. He's no good, and so forth. So anyway,
Kentucky hadn't been the same. That basketball program has not been the same since Coach Rupp tried to get fresh with you in the back of that Buick.
Well, I mean, Coach Rudd, that actually happened, and I know everybody's saying, "Oh, well,
Coach,
that didn't happen." But
I had so many
like,
people after you've told that story that came up to me and talked about how much they love that story. So I want to let you know.
Well, I said to myself that the winningest coach in the history of basketball is laying down in my lap, and I don't know if he's dead or drunk.
So good.
And I said, Sam Bailey was driving the car. Sam, I think this next red light we need to pull over. I didn't say the head basketball coach is in my lap, but I said, I think we need to pull over. And finally, by the time we got to the next red light, Coach Rupp just raised up and acted like nothing happened. So anyway, but a little old GA like me, I may have been there one year. I was a little punk, and that's scary. So anyway.
Oh gosh, yeah, something tells me.
Anyway,
yeah.
I brought you all about Crane Works. I know y'all got on time.
Oh, well, hold on a second.
You
Hold on a
keep-
second.
you
Hold
keep
up.
trying to
Hold up.
run
Time
off
out.
the court.
No, I
Time
thought
out.
y'all usually wanted to run me off. And
No, no. First off, do we have a blue plate for Monday night?
Yeah, I'm going to take Indiana again. Now, it's
Okay,
it's
8.5?
moved to 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah, let me
okay.
tell you this. Let me tell you about Manzona, whatever his name is, quarterback.
Mendoza.
I've done some
Mendoza.
studying now, so I'm going against what I just said a little bit. They tell me that if he's got any one thing that he doesn't do well, out of everything that he does, and he throws it on the dime and so forth, they tell me he does not avoid the pass rush very well. They tell me that he does not tuck it under his arm and run with it very well against pass rush. So I would say I'm kind of going against what I said. If the pass rush by Miami is good, and they can get to him some, the way people got to Ty Simpson, everybody's bitching about him all the time. So if they can get to him, then and Miami doesn't turn the ball over, they've got a chance. It's gone to 8.5, so it started off at 7.5, gone to 8.5. And so that means that people, kind of thinking, you smart guys on the radio show, all the guys for you, they think that North Carolina is going to get beat, and they may. But I would have to give it 8.5. And for our listeners, what do both of you think?
Oh, this is going to be a rout. This is going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be as bad as Georgia gets TCU.
I don't think it's
Thank
going to
you
be
very
that
much.
bad. I think 10 to 17 points, Indiana.
I do too. I just think they're too smart and too good.
Yeah.
And he's got a way. Let me say, he's got a bad look on his face. I tried to on my show. I mean, on my days coaching, but he is. You don't know this. He's a tough guy. He's the kind of guy, I think, from what I can gather, as if you go to see him, you better knock on his door before you go in. He has done a very good job publicly of not being darn sure he said the right things about Alabama, the right things about everybody, of being humble. He's got a big ego. That's great. He deserves one. He beats everybody. Like every cotton picking team he's lined up against, he's beaten. Come on, ain't no way to get around that. I didn't know whether y'all agreed with me or not, but I think they cover the 8.5 and then some.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's what I think. I finally got back on a winning streak last few times, but I ain't real good this year.
Well, I mean, Landrum wanted to bring it up, and I told him in a pre-show meeting that we do not need to keep, poking the bear with Coach Wimp about his picks. So I'm glad you got on the hot streak.
I had him for a while. I got decent. I came back a little bit.
You did,
but nasty buzzard, nasty snake. I didn't think it was very good.
I hadn't heard that one in a while.
That's what a guy said to me one time. I was on a farm with him. That's around. He said, "Why?" He's watching. I said, "What are we doing up here?" He said, "Nasty buzzard, nasty snake." I don't know why he said that. So it doesn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about. So
That's
I don't know why I said it.
No, we love it. That's great.
All right, Crane Works, outstanding. You can't beat Crane Works if you're trying to build something or tear it down. If you're trying to rent something and you want to build it yourself, then what you do is they'll bring the operator with them and they'll do everything they possibly can to please you. Crane Works, they are absolutely great people. David Upton is smart. If you look at Mobile, you can look at Huntsville, you can Birmingham, where you want to look. Craneworks will come in there and do the job for you. And look on craneworks.com, and you'll have all the answers. Thank you, guys.
Coach, always a pleasure. We'll
Thanks,
talk to you
Coach.
next week.
All right, good. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. He joined us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
Give you the latest from the college football transfer portal. Last day for that, as entries are still coming in, guys, still making announcements, decisions, and we also got Mike Rodak coming up at the top of the hour. It's a Friday edition of Three Man Front. So glad you're with us on Jocks. Coach Wimp Sanderson, presented by Craneworks. Always a fun visit with the coach. You can find it there at 3 Man Front Podcast at jocksfm.com. Coming up this weekend, we got SEC basketball, of course, the NFL playoffs. No better place to find it than the Finnick. In fact, you can tip off your weekend tonight, this afternoon, there at the Finnick, 1630 2nd Avenue South. Coming up tomorrow, big slate there on the projector screens, the video boards that you're going to find throughout the Finnick Sports Bar. Kentucky and Tennessee get it started early. The doors are going to open at 11 a.m. Then you get Alabama and Oklahoma at noon. East Tennessee State and Sanford, they're going to have that game on. Auburn, South Carolina, then the playoffs, of course, with Buffalo and Denver getting things started at 4:30. Anything you want to watch sports-wise, you're going to find it. All the big games are going to turn up on that state-of-the-art sound system they have at the Fennec. Award-winning menu. You got to try the wings. The wings are great. Everybody says that, but this is actually true. In this case, the Fennec, 1630 2nd Avenue South. Always tell them Landry from Jock sent you.
The transfer portal window will close tonight for the players to enter their names into the transfer portal. That will be at midnight. Coming up in just a couple minutes, we'll talk to Mike Rodak from Bama 247, find out where Alabama currently is. They got a little work to do. 12 players have been now enrolled at the University of Alabama out of the transfer portal or walk-on. So we'll find out the latest math with Alabama, what we expect to happen over the course of the next couple of days. Basketball tomorrow, a full docket in the SEC. It starts bright and early, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Kentucky is at Tennessee. That's a big game. We'll see if Kentucky is for real after that big come-from-behind win against LSU. Tennessee got a big win in double overtime the other night against Texas A&M. Bama and Oklahoma, that's a 12 noon. You can watch that on the SEC Network. Then you've got Florida and Vanderbilt. That's a good one. Our own Brian Edwards is going to be front and center courtside for that one. That's a 1 o'clock tip-off. Then you got Mizzou, LSU at 2:30. Arkansas and Georgia, that will be an interesting one in Athens as Georgia tries to lick their wounds after a tough loss the other night to the Ole Miss Rebels. Arkansas, a big win at home against South Carolina. That's a 3 o'clock tip-off. You got Texas A&M and Texas, a battle for the Lone Star State. That's a 5 o'clock tip on ESPN. South Carolina and Auburn, that is a 5 o'clock tip. You can hear that game right here on Jocks. And wrapping things up, Saturday night at 7:30, it will be the Ole Miss Rebels taking on the Mississippi State Bulldogs over at the Hump as the battle for the Magnolia State. And it's a 7:30 tip-off. You can see that game right after the Auburn game on the SEC Network.
Is
Egg
that
Bob.
it's the E-Bob.
The
The
Egg Bowl of
I-Bob and
basketball.
the E-Bob.
Okay.
You can call it what you
I
want,
like egg
Conrad.
bob,
E-Bob.
but then it sounds like you're bobbing for eggs, which you could do.
I'm surprised you've never done that, like bobbing for pickled eggs in a country gas station
I'll stick with apples.
where everybody's face has been down in that same liquid.
Well, you didn't tell me that. Now I'm interested.
See? That's the kind of weird stuff that entices you. Text line is open, 205-834-9450. Going back to what Danny White, the athletics director at Tennessee, had to say about college football, the transfer portal. It's out of control. Nobody's abiding by the rules. This one rolling in from one of our great listeners. Landry, my problem is this. 2 years ago, a D1 tennis coach, the number one team in the country, was doing the same thing, contacting players on other teams saying that we can give you this. Said coach is no longer employed. Football and basketball is different because of the money involved. So that's a tennis coach speaking from experience at the college level. Someone offering, they think it was Lane Kiffin that leaked the pay list at Ole Miss.
That's the rumor.
That is the story I was getting from the state of Mississippi yesterday. It's called Divide and Conquer. Cause as much chaos as you possibly can in that locker room and then swoop in with a big deal.
Well,
I heard rumors last night that supposedly, I'm not going to mention the school, but there's an SEC school that's actually offering players money just to put their name in the portal. Not to give them money to come out of the portal, but just, hey, Landrum, I'll give you $50,000 if you just go submit paperwork to go get in the portal.
seems like that's an LSU move.
Interesting.
What'd I win, Bob?
Hey, anyone had a 1 in 16 chance, right?
Sorry, buddy, we're not paying for visits this year. We have dedicated that money to getting our own players to enter the portal.
That's right.
Going back to a long shot, Duke had no chance versus UNLV. Bama had no chance versus Miami in 92, and the Jets had no chance versus the Colts. So you're saying there's a chance.
Always a chance.
Listening there in Jocks Montgomery, thank you. Drake says Lane hasn't changed one bit. Nope. And someone say, happy to see that UAB is going to have a loaded backfield going into this football season.
Yeah, we did not bring that up, but they got a huge transfer portal get, a running back from the University of Georgia. That's a
Roderick
big one.
Robinson?
Yeah.
He actually caught the first touchdown pass in the Georgia-Alabama SEC championship game this last year.
That's a big-time get for UAB.
6'1", 235-pound running back, been hampered by injuries, broken ankle in 24, also hamstring injuries throughout this year. So hopefully he can do well for the green and gold.
Mike Rodak is next.